Hello and welcome back to my Pokemon version 2 tutorial series. In the description there's a link. The link will contain a folder. The folder will be called Antagonists and it'll have this stuff in it. Okay, so with that said, let's carry on. First things first, what we're going to do is go to Blueprints and you want to make a new folder called Core. I already did this because I've recorded this video a few times, just didn't have my mic on and other issues. Anyway, so you need to create a folder called Core, then go into that folder, and what you're going to do is right click and you're going to make a player controller. You're going to call that player controller Pokey Player Controller. Alright, then over here in your world settings panel you're going to go to player controller and you're going to change it to that Pokey Player Controller. Alright, and then you're going to right click, you're going to go blueprint class and you're going to click this drop down that says all classes and you're going to search game instance and you're going to choose this one, and then it will make a new instance and you're just going to rename that to Pokey Instance. Then we're going to open up this player controller, minimize it, we're going to go to our blueprints folder, go to actors, open up our player base, minimize it, open up our Pokeballs, starter ball, and open up our start ball, minimize it, and then go to your Pokemon folder, widgets, WB starter ball. And there's some things that you need to change in here. Alright, so first of all, let's go to our start ball. Well, actually, let's go to our player controller, and you need to make a variable of type boolean called has selected starter. So we're basically moving this variable over to the player controller because it stays consistent through levels. Alright, so now that you've created that variable, you're going to head over to your start ball, and this would have been here plugged in and this wouldn't exist, so let's just redo this for you guys. So what you're going to do is right click and say get player controller, and you're going to drag off and say cast to Pokey Player Controller, and then you'll just drag off and say has selected starter, and we'll set it, not set it, sorry, we'll get it, get has selected starter, and plug that into this branch and just connect the execution pins, and you can get rid of this has selected starter coming off of your player base. And that's all we're going to do in here. Then we're going to head over to the WB starter ball, go to the graph, and a similar thing is we can do exactly the same thing basically, except setting it. So this would have been here. We're going to delete that has selected starter from the player base, and then we're going to right click and say get player controller, and once again we're going to cast to the Pokey Player Controller, connects the execution pin. We're going to drag off of as Pokey Player Controller and say set has selected starter, and we're going to set it to true. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can go to our player base and we can delete this has selected starter and compile a ball, compile the widget, and compile your player controller, and we can exit out all of that and just click save all, so we know it's all working, save current, and we've saved everything. Okay, so next up you want to go to meshes, you want to go to character meshes, we're going to make a new folder, I'm going to call this blue, and we'll make another new folder, we'll call this green, and we'll open up blue, open up that antagonist folder that I sent you guys, and bring in this blue one FBX. Right, and then over here what we want to do is go and select red's skeleton. So you want to select red skeleton and import all. Okay, so now that's done, we can close this little error, go to character meshes, go to green, and then go to the green folder in antagonists and bring in the green FBX. And we're going to do exactly the same thing, select red skeleton, they all use the same skeleton. We'll do minor changes in the actual anim BPs to get them looking a little bit better. As you can see, Oak's arms aren't 100% and these won't be either. Alright, so then what we're going to do is go to our Pokemon folder, materials, and character materials, and right click, and then we're going to make a folder called blue, and right click again, make another new folder, we'll make this one called green, and we'll open up the blue folder, and go to the antagonist folder, blue, and bring in the blues textures folder, the whole folder. Okay, and then we want to go back to our character materials folder, go to green, and go to the antagonist folder, green, and bring in the green textures folder, just like we did with the blue, the whole folder. Take a second. Okay, and now what we can do is go back to our character meshes. We will go to blue, and we'll grab all of his materials, scroll up here a little bit, and find our blues character material, and just drag them into there. So move them into that folder, and we'll go back to our character meshes, green, and bring in green's materials into green's material folder. So that is up here. So move them into there. Okay, then we're going to go to our materials folder, go to blue, open up each one of his materials as we do for all of our previous models, and we'll just open all of them up, open up the textures, and we'll just bring them in accordingly. So skin to skin, we're only doing the diffusers, just trying to keep the video fast, and they look alright for now. So bring in the skin, save it. Sometimes materials take a while to save. And then you want to bring in the OBJ, which is just his bag. Plug it into the base color and save. And then the hair. And you can see the eyes and the mouth have morph targets, so we'll get them to talk and blink and do all sorts of things later on. So save. So what we want to do is your body, just bring in that, plug it into base color. So yeah, so what I was saying is what we want to do is when we pick a Pokemon, these two antagonists are each going to get one of the other two Pokemon. So we'll each have a different main Pokemon. You can close that out, save, and save all. And go to green, open up all of his materials. And then throughout the game we're going to have one main antagonist, skin to skin. And the main antagonist is going to be blue, and then throughout other parts in the game there will be green coming in and battling us as well. I don't know, we might do it like bring in your hair and plug in the base color. We might do it like so you pick a main antagonist at the beginning, either blue or red, blue or green, and then bring in your eye, and then they would be your main antagonist for the game, and the other one would just be like a fair weather antagonist coming in and out as they see fit. Okay, for this one the bag is actually labeled properly, so we're gonna get the right texture one time. Anyway, that's my plan. Sorry it sounds so broken up, but I think you guys get the gist of this. We've done this so many times already now. Yeah. Okay, OBJ will go into the bag, and we can plug that into base color and save. And we should have actually named these blue's eyes, green's eyes, because the engine's going to start getting confused between them, I think. But we can go double check that in the actual models quickly. So let's go to our character meshes, let's go to blue, let's open him up, and yes, it's wrong. Blue has Oak's hair for some reason. Let's just make this big. And we'll go to hair and give him blue's hair. It's the orange one. And he's got the correct eyes, and everything else is fine. Okay, so save and exit, and go character meshes, green, and she looks very weird. She's got Oak's eyes. That is wrong. So you want to find her eyes, they look like that. She's also got Oak's body, which is incorrect. You want the green body because she's green. She's even got Oak's skin, it looks like. So you want to find her skin, yeah. And then there we go. So save out and exit. Now we've got two main antagonists. So I got a Pokemon folder, blueprints, actors, and we'll right click, make a folder, and we'll call this antagonists, and we'll open that up, make a blueprint class of type character, and we'll call this one blue, and we'll right click on him and create a child blueprint class, and we'll call this green. Alright, so we'll open up blue, and the mesh in question, we'll just go to blues mesh, and we're not going to mess with scaling them up just yet. We're just going to go use animation and asset, and we're going to find this breathing idle, and now we'll mess with scaling. Alright, so scale him down to fit into the capsule component, and rotate him 90 degrees to face the front, and compile. Okay, now we should have two of them, and all we're going to do here is just go into green, open up the mesh, and change him to greens mesh. Oh, not green anim, sorry, that was a mistake. Breathing idle still. We're just going to change the skeletal mesh to green. Alright, compile, and I just realized green's hair is still not correct, so we're going to have to go back to Pokemon, meshes, character meshes, green, and open up green again, and set her hair to be her hair color, which is this one. Okay, save current, save all, and go to your Pokemon, blueprints, actors, antagonists, and now we can bring them in. They're not going to do anything just yet, but we can at least have them in the game so we can look at them. Okay, so there we go, save, and now we want to trigger a talk event to Oak. So what we're gonna do is, let me think about this. We're gonna first of all just bring in these new widgets. So let's go to textures and go to folder, antagonist folder, and bring in these three new widget things, widget textures. Alright, and might as well right click, create a new folder, we'll call this HUD, and we'll open this up, and we'll make it a user interface, widget blueprint, we'll call this HUD, and open that up, because our HUD's going to show up after we get our first Pokemon, and it's going to show our Pokemon in the HUD, that type of thing. I know I'm sort of getting off topic, but we do want all of these things set up before we go into battle and getting Pokemon and everything. It'll just work nicer. Okay, so what we're going to do in here is add a we're just going to add a border, and we're going to anchor it to the bottom right. We're going to set its position X to 0, position Y to 0, and then it's like somewhere down here. I don't know what the point of that was. Anyway, we're just going to move it up so we can see, put it around here somewhere, and then we're going to go to the widgets textures folder and grab this HUD v3 texture, and go to the brush and bring it in. Okay, and we're going to space it out nice so that's yeah, you know what I mean, just so that it fits in the screen nicely. Okay, compile, and then what we need to do is add progress bars on top of this. So we might need to wrap this in an overlay, so wrap with overlay, the overlay, don't worry about that, just set that to full, and then we're going to bring a progress bar on top, and that progress bar style is going to be its full image, and its background image are going to be the same image. It's going to be this HUD bars, so set it to that and that, and set it to, oh, not full, let's set it to middle, and we'll wrap it in a size box. Sorry, as I said, I'm doing this as I go, so yeah, we'll just figure it out together. So 350, no, let's do it about 300 width override, and the height override will do 100, 50, maybe a little bit less, 40. I don't know why this isn't lining up. What is our actual image's size here? Oh, it's because we're drawing it as a box, so we need to draw it as an image. That was a bit daft of me. Anyway, then we're going to bring our size box over. That still looks about right anyway. We'll bring it over with padding, because you can't move it in an overlay. So we'll give it some padding on the left, about 32, no, more, 56, that seems right. And on the bottom, we're going to give it padding of 43, no, 23, and that's perfect. Okay, so as you can see, we can have an HP bar going across here. We can even change its translation a little bit, angle. So we're just gonna set this off by like 1. There we go, that'll do. And then we need another one of these, so we'll just select both of them and duplicate it. So copy and paste. And the next size box is going to have different padding, obviously. So we'll remove the bottom padding, set that to 0, and it will have some padding on the top. We're going to set to like 23, and that's pretty much perfect. Just the width override here, we're going to change to 270, so it's a little bit shorter. And we want it to go a little bit more to the left, so we're going to set this to something like 45, and I think that will do. Alright, so now we can check what this looks out. It looks like if it's filled, it just fills up. Okay, and this one as well, and there we go. That's going to be the HP and the AP of our main Pokemon that'll sit here. His level will be here, and there will be 5 other balls indicating if we have a ball or not. The balls will show up in those slots. Okay, so we can close that out, save all. Excuse me. Okay, so let's talk to Oak. Blueprints, actors. We want to open up Oak. We want to open the full blueprint editor. We want to add some variables here. We're going to call this name, make it of type text, and then we're going to make another one. We're going to call this body text. We're going to make this an array. Okay, compile and save and make him editable. You can compile again, and then what we need to do is open up, I don't even think we've created his widget yet. Oh, we have. Here's the chat widget. Okay, so now we've got the chat widget. We've got the AI's name. What have we created? Yeah, no functions. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a function. We're going to call this set AI name, because we can use this chat widget for more than just Oak. We can use it for all of them actually. So we'll drag in this AI name, and we'll drag off and we'll say set text of text, and then we need an input on this function of type text, and we'll just call this name. Okay, and just plug it in like that. Alright, then we'll make another function. We'll say call this set body text, and what we're going to do here is going to be a little bit different. We're going to sort of go through the thingy depending, the array depending on what we do. So it's going to just let me show you what we're doing, and then you'll understand. So we're going to get an array, turn it into an array, and we'll call this body texts, and these will be like his replies, sort of. So body text, get the body text, and what we're going to do is set text of text, drag off of this body text and say get a copy, and we're going to need another input on here. We're going to make it of type integer, and it's not going to be an array. We're going to call this body text index. Alright, and we're just going to plug that straight in there, and then we're going to plug that into that. Okay, compile and save, and then we need to go to the event graph, and we need to get this button on-clicked. So go to the button, we need to do an on-clicked event for it. So each time we click this, we're gonna get set the index for our this. Okay, so that's basically what's gonna happen. So on clicked, we're gonna make a new variable. We're gonna call this current index, and it'll be of type integer. Compile, and we'll bring this out, and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna just increment this int, as well as we actually need to set this to a variable. Sorry about that, guys. So we need to make a new variable. We're going to call this body texts, and we'll make it of type text, and it'll be an array. So we're just going to set that, not current index, body texts. Alright, and we'll plug that in like that instead, and compile. Then we need to go back to the event graph. We need to get our body texts, and we need to get the last index, and if this is equal to our last index, then we want to close out the widget. Okay, so you need to have the increment plugged in, and if it's not, we're just gonna okay, wait, we're just gonna do the current index. We'll take away that. I'm sorry guys, I'm doing this on the fly. Anyway, so if it's false, we'll increment it, and then we'll set it, and then each time we click it, we'll check that, and if it is true, we'll just remove from parent. Okay, so compile and save, and this is on clicked. Okay, alright, then we need another event here, and we're going to call this initialize. I don't know how to spell initialize. We're going to make it a custom event first. Sorry, I'm just not here today. So initialize, and it's going to have some inputs on it of type text, and this one's going to be AI name, and another one called AI's body text. Alright, and then we're going to bring in these two functions. So set AI name, we'll set it to the AI name, and set body text to the body texts. We'll get wonder what we could do with this to get the first index. Well, it would be on naught. Yeah, that's right. That's perfectly fine. So we go through, current index will always be on naught, and then we'll set it up Okay, that makes sense. So we can comment this out. Initialize and compile. Then we need to go to oak, and he's going to need a component. We'll make it a sphere collision. We can just set it somewhere that makes sense. Make it a little bit bigger, just let it encompass the whole of oak. Compile, and we'll add another component called an arrow. So we'll add an arrow component to oak, and we'll rotate it 180 degrees, and we'll bring it out to about here, and let me think, we're going to be on this side of him to speak, so we'll be over here and we'll face him like such. Okay, and we'll just rename this to player location arrow. Alright, then we'll go to the event graph and we'll grab this event actor begin overlap and make another one, event actor end overlap. Alright, well, we actually won't even do that because we'll close it out and set everything else through the widget. Okay, so the other actor is going to be us, so cast to your player base. Okay, once we cast to the player base, we want to not create a widget yet, we want to get player controller. We want to set input mode UI only. Well, we actually have to create the widget first. So create widget, and that widget's going to be the general chat WB. Just drag off, give yourself some more space. Promote this to a variable. We'll call this chat WB, and just plug it in accordingly. So the in widget to focus will be the chat WB, and we'll lock always, and that should be okay for now. Then what we need to do is set show mouse cursor to true, and we just need to drag off here a little bit. Say stop movement immediately from the character movement, and that way we won't like run off of screen while we are trying to talk to oak. Okay, so then we need to go back to the general chat WB, and before we remove it from the parent, we need to actually cast to our player base, player base class, cast to player base as the object get player character. Now we can just put it up there somewhere, and then what we want to do is we actually don't need to cast him. I'm so sorry guys, we need to get the player controller, so get player controller and set input mode game only, and set show mouse cursor to nothing, and then we can remove it from the parent. So this way we have to speak to oak until he has finished talking, and then we should be able to get out of it. Anyway, we need to drag over here again, sorry, and say drag off of as player base and say set actor location and rotation, and the location and rotation that we're going to set it to will be that of our player location arrow. Alright, so get your player location arrow, say get world location and get world rotation, and plug them in just like that. Okay, compile, and now we're going to get to see what this widget actually looks like in our viewport. I don't think it'll look too bad. I think we should change the text type to a different font, but let's see if this works. Okay, so we go play, we walk up to oak. Oops, what happened there? I just set my location, but nothing else fired. So why is that? Set active location, create it, and I didn't add it to the viewport, but this should have still fired. Add to the viewport, and let's see if this works now. Also, I want to just move him over here for testing real quick. Okay, so that worked, but we need to add one more thing in here. When we stop the movement immediately, we want to set max walk speed to 0. Alright. Let's give ourselves more space here. I don't like them sitting up like that. Compile. And go back to the chat WB, also in the graph, and right here, once we've done that, we actually do have to cast our character now. So cast to player base, get player character, and then drag off of as player base and say set get character movement and set max walk speed, and we'll set it to, we won't even do that, we'll just call that event from our player character. So let's go find him and find what that was called. We need to turn this into a custom event, so custom event, change locomotion, and plug it in like that, and then just on left shift we'll call change chain, I guess, chain locomotion. Spelled that terribly, just move that up there, compile, and then we'll go over here and we'll just call chain locomotion, and that should work fine, I guess. Okay, compile, and let's see what happens here. So we go in, we can't move, there's oak, we're going to actually move them closer together, and let's see what is happening. We'll say, hey, I'm oak, goodbye. His name must be Oak. Compile. Again, over here, we need to pull off and say initialize. I didn't actually initialize anything, so we need to initialize. And we'll set the AI name to our AI name and body text to body text. Compile. And that should work. So Oak, hey, I'm Oak. Okay, and it did work, it just did it slowly. So hey, I am Oak. Oh, didn't go to the next. Okay, well anyway, we've got the chat starting to work. I think I'm gonna have to finish up in the next video. I think I've gone on a bit long, so I'm gonna wrap up here, and in the next video we're gonna get this this little bit of functionality working properly. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll hit you up with more vids. Cheers.